On this day in 1971, Charlie Tully passed away at the age of just 47. The post-war years were a grim time for Celtic fans, with the club toiling to reboot itself after being virtually switched off for the duration of the war. Hibernian, with their famous five-forward line, had filled the vacuum left by Celtic, fielding an exciting, entertaining team that was more than a match for the regimented, late Bill Struth-era Rangers with their Iron Curtain defence. Celtic languished in mid-table before almost being relegated in 1948, and following that narrow escape, Tully was signed from Belfast Celtic for a fee of £8,000. Charlie Tully didn't arrive and instantly kickstart a Celtic revival. Their first major trophy success after the war was still 3 years away, but what he did was give the long-suffering Celtic fans of the era something to look forward to as they made their way dutifully to matches which without him would have been a grim slog to watch. The Tully legend was born in a League Cup sectional match against Rangers at Celtic Park on the 25th of September 1948, when he orchestrated the destruction of the Rangers' defence after a goalkeeping error had given them an early lead. The Glasgow Herald of the 27th of September 1948 reported, "There were occasions on Saturday on which the Irishman beat 3 would-be tacklers in the space of as many yards, and each time by a different manoeuvre. His artistry was almost tantalising, though that did not excuse several of the lunges made at him. His temperament was ideal too, for he accepted the free kicks in his favour and made no attempt to gain personal redress other than to continue to baffle his adversaries." Never noted for his pace, Tully's control and manipulation of a football was masterful, his vision and passing exceptional, and all done with an impish glee as he left markers bemused and bewildered in his wake. He also revelled in gamesmanship and devilment, such as the cameo in the 1951 St Mungo's Cup final against Aberdeen when he won a throw-in off fullback Davy Shaw. With no other Celtic player yet in throwing distance, Shaw turned his back on Tully to trot into position. A fatal mistake as Tully threw the ball off his back and out for a corner. He took the corner kick himself, from which Sean Fallon scored as Celtic came back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. When he was on form, Tully was unstoppable. When he was off his game, he could be as frustrating for his teammates as he was for opponents. Both sides of his personality were seen on the day he scored from a corner kick twice against Falkirk in a Scottish Cup tie at Brockville on the 21st of February 1953. In a dismal first half, Tully had barely touched the ball and Celtic trailed 2-0 at half-time. They were booed off the pitch by their own fans, and there were dark mutterings from the defenders that Tully, who had petulantly elbowed Celtic legend Jimmy Delaney, still playing for Falkirk at the age of 38 in an off-the-ball incident, was not doing enough to help out his hard-pressed colleagues at the back. After 53 minutes, Celtic won their first corner of the match, and Tully, placing the ball as he usually did just outside the D, curled it straight into the net, and the Celtic fans on the dangerously overcrowded terracing spilled onto the pitch in jubilation. The celebrations were cut short as the linesman signalled for the goal to be disallowed, and an outraged Tully postured and gesticulated wildly as he argued with the officials. A retake ordered, the bold Charles Patrick continued with the theatrics and handed the ball to the linesman to place for him before bringing the house down by again curling the ball directly into the net. The goal sparked a memorable comeback and Celtic won 3-2. It was all for nothing though, as they crashed out of the cup to Rangers in the next round and won only 3 league matches between the turn of the year and the end of the season. Tully was at his mercurial best in the Coronation Cup that summer, particularly in the semi-final against Manchester United, where he teased and tormented Matt Busby's side and created both goals in a 2-1 win. But then he pulled a muscle in the last few minutes and missed the final against Hibernian. The Coronation Cup win created a momentum that saw Celtic win the League and Scottish Cup double for the first time since before World War I in 1953-54, and at last Tully's promptings were paying off with real success. Typically eccentric selection decisions by the board cost Celtic the Scottish Cup in 1955 and 1956, but the League Cup was won for the first time in 1956, and Tully was part of the incredible 7-1 win over Rangers to retain the trophy in 1957. Over the course of the 1950s, Charlie Tully's larger-than-life personality and his antics on and off the field created a wave of Tully mania in the west of Scotland, with green Tully-themed merchandise like ties and ice cream proving huge sellers. Tully was a celebrity footballer long before George Best became the first celebrity footballer in the 1960s. He left for Cork Hibernian in September 1959 and later went on to manage Bangor to their first ever trophy successes in 1970 and 1971. Charlie Tully's early death on the 27th of July shocked the footballing public on both sides of the Irish Sea, sending Belfast and Glasgow into deep mourning. Celtic manager Jock Stein and captain Billy McNeill were among his pallbearers. An article by James Rowland for Soccer Star of the 8th of November 1952 summed up perfectly what Charlie Tully meant to his adoring public. Charlie is their darling and Charlie is their life. To the giant, noisy Celtic faithful, Charles Patrick Tully, juggler, comedian, devastating inside forward and fleet-footed mesmeriser, is the be-all and end-all of their soccer-soaked lives. They don't care what happens, as long as they see Charlie dancing and weaving his cheeky way through the opposition, for he is their pride and joy, their heartthrob, their very existence. They argue about him, cheer him, praise him. He is, in fact, what the true Celts yearn for: a magnet, a crowd puller, a personality deluxe, streamlined and in the nice silver paper. Parkhead loves him.